Travel Ones podcast. Today, my guest is singer-songwriter Kel Adore. How are you today, Kel?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, no, I appreciate the time. You know, you're a busy person. You got the new move going on and still getting your LA roots down. How's everything been going for you?
It's been really good. In fact, my husband and I moved here and have just been exploring different neighborhoods in LA. So we've been very nomadic, moving around to different parts. Really just getting to know the area, but we finally found our long-term spot. So we're really excited. Finally have all of our stuff out of storage, and man, unpacking and moving is a lot of work. So it's good to settle some roots in. Oh, I know. I mean, we still have, things in boxes and picture frames, and but it's exciting to feel like we can finally just set our roots down and, get living the LA life.
No more excuses now. Time to get some music put out, right?
I know. Oh my goodness. And throughout all of this, I've been in the studio recording, going back and forth. So it's definitely great to be in LA, and I'm excited. I have a new single coming out called Happy Again. That'll be releasing May 13th. But yeah, just been hard at work in the studio. I think it takes a lot more time than people realize.
I was going to ask you, how long does it take to like do you have an idea for a song and then you start working on it, and then from maybe the first verse or whatever, the first lyric to finished copy? How long does that typically take?
I think it depends on the song, because truly, some songs come together really quickly. You just have the idea, you're in the studio, the track comes together really quickly, you're just feeling really inspired. So, and when I say quickly, I would say for my process, that might be 2 months. Like 2 months is quick. But for other songs where, you're dealing with studio schedules, you're dealing with your own schedules, you're dealing with, iterations, changing things, revisions. Gosh, I mean, I've had songs maybe take 6 months, from the point of idea to master.
I was gonna, and you're getting started, but like, I'm always curious, like, because that's like when if I take a picture or something, I can go in Photoshop and I go, I wish I would have done that. Or, I always look at things and go, I should. Even with interviews, I go, I should have asked this question. But do you ever go back and, like, with your first single, do you ever go back and go, I wish I would have done that differently? Have you done that yet?
I think at this point, we have finished the songs and then given enough lead time before I release it to be able to go back and have some of those edits. I also, for me personally, I think I know that, like, my best work is ahead of me, and every song I make, I want to be better. Yeah. So I'm kind of okay to accept, like, hey, this was my first single, Full for the Pain. I love it. I'm pumped. I'm excited to share it. And, I wouldn't share it if it wasn't something I was proud of. However, I know that I'm going to keep having ideas. I'm going to keep improving. I'm going to keep learning and working with people who, teach me things. And I'm just excited to keep growing. But I will say, I do have a story that's kind of a random story about that. For Happy Again, we had finished the master, and I was just kind of listening to it back, kind of like, oh, like, what does it need? Does it need something? And I went back to my producer and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to just add one sound effect to the track. And I kind of hyped it up. So I came in, I hyped it up. I was like, oh my gosh, I have this thing. We need to do it. Let's play the track. I'll show you what it is. And then we got to the part, and it was literally just like a, huh, literally the, huh, like, huh. And he was like,
really?
That was your big idea. And I was like, you know what? Now that I've said it out loud and put it into the universe, maybe we don't need it. But, like, I had to make sure I just voiced it and had the decision made of, we're not going to use it or we are. So,
well, now I want to. Is it in the song?
No, it didn't make it in the song, because we're like, yeah, it doesn't really add anything to the song. But I do have those moments where I'm like, oh, maybe we could add this, maybe we could tweak that, maybe we could add a breath here.
So if you see a comment on your YouTube page that says, boy, if it just had an extra breath, that's going to be the tagline.
I know, that'll be like, maybe I'll regret it, 6 months from now. You can ask me that question. I'll be like, I should have added that breath.
I'm going to tell all anyone listening to my show, make the comment. Boy, it needed. If it just had an extra breath, it'd be a hit.
Oh my goodness. If you go comment that, that will like make
Show
my day
show
if you're
show it to
listening
your
to this.
producer, and it'd be like,
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah, we'll have to go release like a version with the breath.
the breath, the breath version.
The breath in parentheses. Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect. You know,
Oh
are
man.
you haven't been out yet touring, but are you excited to do that?
Oh yes. I'm
Is-
so excited. So I grew up performing a lot with my sister, in fact, and
Oh,
we would
perfect.
do the recitals, but also like the little county fairs or just the things kind of going around locally. And that really kind of instilled this love for performing. And, with the pandemic, I haven't been able to perform
No one has,
that
yeah.
much. Yeah, no one has. But luckily, things are starting to ramp up. And with all of this new music I'm working on, I am starting to think about, getting my band together and rehearsals. And there's a lot that goes on in terms of just practicing and getting ready for those gigs. So I'm super excited. I
There
know
you
that
go.
day will come. I'm just kind of doing one step at a time to get there.
Have you had the talk with the husband? You know, example, like my wife knew when she met me that I traveled for work. That's what I do.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
musicians have to travel. That's kind of what they do.
totally. I'm so lucky to have the most supportive husband. In fact, like he followed me out to LA. I feel like a lot of
Perfect.
times you hear in relationships where the woman follows the man for his
Sure.
career. And I've been lucky where, we have a good balance and he works remote. So he has that flexibility where
Nice.
he can kind of follow along. I asked him actually the other day, I was like, are you going to come on tour with me? Or like, what are you going to do? And he's like, yeah, maybe I'll come a little bit and then, go back home and kind of, I think if it's a cool city, maybe he would come with me. And then if he's
I was gonna
tired,
say
he'll go
every
home.
time I have to go to Hawaii,
Oh,
my wife's schedule opens up automatically.
suddenly she's like, oh yeah, I'd love to go on your business
Oh,
trip.
I
I
have
don't
that
blame
week
her.
off, and I go, I haven't told you what week I'm going. She goes, yeah, I have that week off.
Yep, I don't blame her at all. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
going to Hawaii for work, that doesn't sound like work. It sounds
But
like play.
when I have to go to South Dakota, she's busy. It's just, you know. But
I'm sure South Dakota has a lot to offer. I wouldn't personally know.
Mount Rushmore, that's about it.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I
Yeah,
have been to Mount Rushmore
yeah.
when I was younger.
Rapid City.
There you go.
Yeah, open up the boot burn there. Yeah. You know, so I could because that's obviously, hopefully you're doing world tours and all that, and all of a sudden it becomes, I can tell you right now, you're like you'll be episode 198 for me.
Okay,
Musicians
that's
travel more
awesome.
than anybody I talk to by
Yes.
far.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you have to because really it's about connecting with your fans and your
yeah,
people. And music ultimately, and at least for me, what I strive to do with my music is just to, be vulnerable and connect. And um, I think it's a really good way to just speak people's silences. Music
yeah,
can say and explore the things that people might not be able to say to themselves or to their family or friends or whoever. And
absolutely.
so, musicians to share their messages and to really make that connection, they've got to go where the people are, and that's all over the world. So I think
Yeah,
it's exciting, to have that opportunity. I've been lucky to travel, just personally throughout my life, and you really do learn and connect with people and their different cultures, and you can learn so much. And
yeah.
when music is brought into that, I think it can be a really special thing.
Well, when you can go to countries that don't speak English as a primary language and they sing your songs out loud, I've had some musicians tell me it's wild.
Oh, I'm sure that's one of those moments where you just are like, wow, this is
That's
special.
yeah. You
Uh-huh.
know, I was going to ask, you have a business and economics degree, which a lot of musicians could probably use. You know, well, no, because they end up being creative people, right? And
Yeah.
so it's I just want to make my music and get it out there versus, hey, how much is the manager making? What are my cuts? What is that? The
Yes.
actual business end of it. A lot of I would say creative types don't have that, and you do. So that
Yeah,
could be
I think
the thing.
it's helped and maybe hurt me in some ways because sometimes I get too in my head about things. In fact, when I was just starting out making demos, and granted, these were really bad demos, nothing ready to release. I remember talking to some other musicians and I was like, so tell me about how do you trademark your songs and how do
Yeah.
you get the copyrights? And they were like,
The
what are
basic.
you talking about? I've never even thought about.
Yeah.
And so, I would get in these wormholes of just researching these business elements instead of really like honing my craft. And I really had to learn to pivot and learn to focus on, okay, what are my strengths? For
Yeah.
me, that's songwriting and the artistry. And yes, the business does help and come into play, but I've had to learn to kind of balance that
That's
and
awesome.
quiet my mind at times, because it's like, okay, at the end of the day, like, again, back to that connection. It matters that the music is high quality, it's connecting, and it's put out into the world as something I'm proud of. And so, um,
It's
I
nice having
def
that back. I can tell you, it's nice for you to have that though,
it
because
is,
the people
yeah.
you deal with will know not to mess with you.
I will say I have had some interactions in LA since I've been here where,
Yeah.
there's definitely people in the industry who want
Yeah.
to take advantage of new up and coming artists. And, I've had meetings with people where they're like, I can make you famous. Like, you just need to sign on the dotted line and give me your
Yeah.
checkbook. And I'm like, I see through that, and I think there are some newer artists who maybe don't
Absolutely.
have that I don't know. I don't know how to put it, but they don't have just that view to see through some of the
No, totally
crap.
agree.
So I do feel like it helped prepare me to kind of navigate the industry in a way where I can protect myself, but also share things effectively.
Super key.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
even as my stupid podcast, I get, well, I mean, I get asked to do this and that, and I'm like, no, why would I do that? Yeah, because I have no delusions of grandeur. So, it's like, yeah, I can, hey, the exposure you would get if I can just get that $1,500. I'm like, what?
You're like,
Uh,
what? Yeah, I heard an interesting quote. It was, and I might not say it exactly, but it was, you're defined more by the things that you say no to than by the
mm,
things you say yes to. And I found that has helped me kind
I
of
like that.
guide my approach. I mean, there's no one path to being a musician or
Nope.
creating a podcast or anything. And so if you can really, decide who you want to be and how you want to go about it and then just block out the rest, I think that you'll find your audience and be able to share it in a much more effective way than if you're just saying yes to every, random opportunity that pops up.
I will only preface. I'll give you one story though, of how a yes turned into a Grammy.
Okay, let's hear it. Prove me wrong.
So Steve Stevens is the guitarist for Billy Idol,
Okay.
right? So say probably mid '80s, '84, '85. He has they're working on a new album, he and Billy in New York, and they bring in a piano player, a keyboardist, whatever, Harold Faltmeyer, and and Harold was going to work on the track with Billy for the Billy Idol album, and he goes, and so Harold, during their session, he goes, hey, to Steve, would you like to work on a soundtrack with me? I'm working on this new movie coming out. Maybe we could do something together. He goes, yeah, okay. He says yes. They work on it that night, 3 4 hours. Goes out. It ends up being the Top Gun theme song.
Oh, wow.
With a new actor named Tom Cruise. Because in '85, '84, '85, '86.
Yeah,
So they work on it for 3 or 4 hours, put it out, ends up getting the Grammy for best soundtrack or whatever. And
that's
that's the only Grammy he's won because he said yes. It took 3 hours, 3 4 hours.
wow. I think that's also a good lesson is just getting out of your comfort zone
Yeah,
where sometimes, we do put ourselves in these categories or these boxes because we think we need to be a certain way, but by crossing genres or by trying your hand at something that's different and new, you really might learn something and heck, win a Grammy.
exactly. And he's still getting paid for it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
because they're using it in the new movie, so he gets
Oh, I'm sure the royalties on that thing are insane.
not bad. I would imagine. I don't know.
I would imagine, yeah.
I would imagine. So, what do you with Happy Again coming out? Are you doing any releases? Are you doing any in-store things or any
Yes.
kind of public singing?
So we don't have anything scheduled yet.
Okay.
But as I am working on my EP, what I'm really excited about is to have all of my original music ready for a show.
Yeah.
So rather than, just doing one song and some covers, I really want to share a lot of my original
Perfect.
work. And I have a lot of songs that, I have been working on that are not announced yet. So that song Happy Again will be rolling into a greater EP. And then with that will come those shows. So I will let you know when those happen. You can stay
That's gonna be
tuned
awesome.
on my website or on my socials. I'll definitely keep everyone updated there. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, as a songwriter, I've been songwriting ever since I was, gosh, 7, if not
Wow.
earlier. And there's nothing like performing your own music because
It's your song.
it's your song. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah. What do your parents think after getting you through college and economics and business
Yeah.
degree and all that?
It's funny because my dad, he is very much a businessman. My mom, she's very much performer. She was the
I gotcha.
captain of the Gatorettes. She twirled fire batons on the field, like won all these awards. So I definitely think I'm a combination of both of them, and they're both very supportive, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I think, for my dad, he has always been kind of more cautious because he just doesn't understand the music industry. And I think that's why for me, I decided to pursue economics, and it was the safe route. It was the
Yeah.
practical route. And I thought, oh yeah, this is how you create a successful life. And then, as I started going through my life, I was like, my calling is music. I have to do music. And so I think that, having both of their perspectives has really helped me, but I've definitely had to learn more about the music industry on my own or, through meeting people and
Yeah.
just through my own networking. Um, so I would say that it's not that my dad's not supportive. I think he just doesn't know the music industry and how it works.
Sure.
So it's never even really been like a thought of a possibility until I was like, why not? Why isn't it a possibility?
So what made you ultimately? Because I want to share this, and I think a lot of people. There are a lot of people. I don't know, millennial might, but young people that are kind of at that crossroads of,
Yes.
and I can tell you, I had that discussion with my daughter saying, most people don't get to pursue what they love. They might have to get a job so they can do the things they enjoy doing,
Hmm.
but most people don't get to do the things they love and make enough money to get by on it.
Right.
So what was the calling for you?
Yeah, for me, so as you mentioned, I got my degree in business and economics, got a great corporate job, kind of dream job. And it was funny because as I would be commuting to work, I
Just hate
would,
it.
not that I would hate it. I mean, I really, really liked it, but I also would just listen to music and just think about, whoa, how did they create this? Okay, what is that sound effect? Okay, what's that synth they're using? And oh, let's listen to the lyrics. And I just became so invested on my commutes with how did this come to be?
Yeah,
And it got to the point where, in fact, I would be writing songs in my car and pounding on the console that I broke my center console.
that's awesome.
And I just was like, what am I doing? Like, this is my calling in life. Music is what I'm called to do. And not everybody feels that, everyone
Right.
has a different path. But I think for me, because I recognized that, this is my purpose, that it just made sense to start pursuing it step by step. And some advice I'll give that really helped me was, a lot of times you're on one side of a cliff. There's two sides, right? There's this side, and then there's the chasm in the middle, and then there's the other side, which is where you want to be. And a lot of times when people are moving from, let's say, a corporate world job to a creative field, they just want to jump off the cliff. And they think, okay, I need to make the switch. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
crazy. I'm just going to jump. And then, like, unfortunately, they fall. They fall to the bottom of the pit. The reality is that on your side, where you're already standing, there's a pile of rocks. a pile of boulders, and all you need to do is one at a time roll those over into that chasm, and then they will slowly start to pile up so that
Fill
you
the
can
void.
just walk across from one side to the next. And so my advice, and something that has helped me, I think, is by just taking small steps. Don't, put too much pressure on yourself, but
Yeah.
start living your life in ways that are fulfilling to you, even in the small ways, and moving those rocks over one at a time, so that when it makes sense, you can just walk over and it isn't something that kills you.
Not such a big leap. Yeah.
Hmm. And again, everyone has a different path, but I think, being so practically minded, that's kind of how I have approached it personally.
It's interesting to hear that you do have the practical mindset, and then you have the creative mindset. So it's the balance.
It is a balance.
It should make for good music, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
if you can merge them.
Yes, yes, definitely. I think, sometimes my producer and co-writer will tell me to, like, I'll be like, "Oh, the rhyming structure, like, it's not exactly syncing up." And he's like, "Sometimes, like,
It
that
won't.
can actually kill your song, and that's okay. Like, sometimes you don't need to have the perfect rhyming structure, and that little, like, nuance is what actually makes it interesting." So, um, I'm definitely trying to incorporate both of those things.
Well, who are some of your? I know one of them, but who are some of your artists that you listen to?
Yeah, so we've already talked about
John,
John Bellion. Yeah, he is just such a
you'll
genius.
open up for him one day.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna open for him.
Let's put it out
Maybe
there.
Red Rocks Amphitheater. Yeah, yeah, it'll be
That'd
fun.
be
It'll be a
awesome.
great time. We'll write a song together, and it'll be beautiful.
Done
So
deal.
yeah, John Bellion. I love how he is just like very raw and very creative in his production, but also just very human in the way
Yeah.
that he writes. A lot of people might not know him because he is a little bit niche, but he's actually contributed on tons of mainstream music with, Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, Megan Trainor. Like, he's worked with tons of people. So he's a huge inspiration. I love Julia Michaels. I mean, she
Yeah.
just has that vulnerability. She's an incredible songwriter as well. I think I tend to gravitate towards those people that write
Right.
very honestly. Yeah. Um, I also grew up listening to Shania Twain. So, Harry bringing out Shania at Coachella was
Yeah.
like, I was so sad I wasn't there. That was like a childhood, merge come together to see them. And um, so, yeah, I mean, definitely I have a lot of different influences, but those would be some of the top few that come to mind.
So opening for Harry,
Yes.
Shania, Julia, or John. That'd work for you, right?
Done. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Done deal. I mean, once I have my EP out and they hear it, they'll be like, "Come on tour with me."
I don't know if it'll work out that way, but
I know.
something like that.
Yeah, you got to start putting that out into the
So
universe.
you mentioned Red Rocks.
Yes.
What a phenomenal place, right? I mean,
Oh, it's the most amazing venue. It's just outside of Denver, Colorado, which is where I grew up moving around a little bit, but I would mostly claim Denver as home because I moved around the suburbs of Colorado a lot.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's this gorgeous venue that has these literal giant red rocks,
yeah.
and it's open to the sky with the stars. You can actually see the city of Denver behind the stage in the background. And when you get that music playing in there, just the sonics and the sounds and the energy, it's incredible.
It was meant for it. I mean, the first time it had to be probably 80, well, 83, 84
Okay.
when you two performed at Red Rocks, and it
Oh,
was like, oh, okay, that's pretty
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But
I
then,
bet
I
that
mean,
was an amazing concert.
everyone plays there, so
Yeah, I mean, now it's become just like such an iconic venue that I think a
yeah.
lot of artists are like, I want to go play there, but for good reason, they it just is such a cool energy.
Where else would you like to play?
Oh man, I think for me it's like outdoor amphitheaters are really fun, but this Staples Center, which I guess now is what, crypto.com.
Crypto, yeah. I was gonna correct you on that.
I know. I have to say both because I know people still are like hesitant to call it crypto.com, but playing at an arena like that, I think would be really incredible. But there's also some really cool theaters around that are a little bit smaller and fun. And, Bluebird Theater in Denver is a fun one, or just
The
there's
tr-
a lot of places in LA.
I was gonna say in LA, I mean,
Troubadour.
the Troubadour,
Uh-huh.
whiskey. I mean, any of the Sunset Boulevard ones could convert into popism. You know,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
there lots of opportunities.
Yes.
So
Yes,
we got to get.
absolutely.
Do you have an idea of when your EP will be out? Like end of the year, mid year?
I'm thinking in the fall.
Okay.
So this summer I will be releasing, a series of more singles kind of spaced out, and then they're gonna wrap into that EP that will
Yeah.
be I'll say tentatively fall, but obviously,
Who knows?
we'll see how it shakes up.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a better time to release an album? Do you know? I mean,
There's a lot of different like schools of thought
yeah.
around
Is
it.
it
I know
summer? Is it
for some reason people say like March and October are really good months for music.
okay?
But also, rolling into the summertime can be good because that's where a lot of people are like kind of amped up and ready with the new weather.
Yeah,
Some
absolutely.
people say the new year. I think the one piece of advice I've heard is some people say just avoid releasing music when Adele and Taylor Swift do. If you don't release at the same time they do, you're good.
It'll get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're both incredible artists, so of course you would probably be
Avoid.
remiss. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a yeah. There. Anyways, I won't tell you. I can't. There's a story behind who my daughter used to work for, and it was similar to that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Basically, don't release anything around Justin Bieber either.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure like any of the mainstream
Yeah.
Bieber, Ariana, Harry Styles. In fact, I actually thought about releasing Happy Again on May 20th, and then I saw Harry announced his album for May 20th, and we were like, okay, May 13th.
A week early.
Let's do a week early. Yeah.
But you have to think about that stuff because it does make a difference.
Oh yeah, and I think it's kind of hard to keep up with it too. I mean, there's so many incredible artists releasing music, and also I think that there's I want to say like 80,000 songs a week on Spotify being released
Yeah.
just by independent artists and signed artists and all different types of people. So I think it's a lot about just kind of finding your tribe, finding your
Yeah.
people, finding people that you connect with. And there's so much music out there. Like my husband, he just listens to New Music Friday every week. He's like not
Yeah.
brand loyal at all. He just listens to whatever is new. So, that's another thing that a lot of new artists are doing is just popping out a lot of music all at once. So it's definitely a balance though, because for me, I want to make sure that it's the quality and has the time and the intention behind it before just releasing something. But
What are you on TikTok?
yes, I am on TikTok.
Because there's one country singer, Warren Zeter.
Okay.
He had a song that was attached to a lot of videos, and then everyone started using it,
Yes.
and he literally became somewhat famous now with a single all because of a TikTok release.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, if your song goes viral on TikTok, I feel like TikTok is really determining the charts a lot recently.
Yeah.
Now, when you go on to the top charts playlist and you listen through it, you'll recognize all these TikTok trends. You're like,
You're
oh, I
like,
heard that
what?
song on TikTok.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely the way the world is moving right now.
So we got to get you got to get you viral on TikTok.
Yes.
You're opening for John Billion at Red Rocks.
Yep. If
What
someone
else?
just like skips into your podcast and hears this, they're gonna be like, "What?"
Well, it'll be John. I'll tag John on it, and I'm sure he'll have
Mhm.
the time to listen to it.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I'll just use the clip, right? I'll
Yeah,
make
we
that
just
my
needed that
TikTok.
sound bite.
Yeah. That way you can hear it. How can you know? You got to put it out there. It's kind of part of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
there's definitely some people like Doja Cat and Lizzo, on TikTok that are just like killing it. I
yeah.
think TikTok is also more about just being yourself and being um, just just kind of unproduced, and unfiltered. And I think
Yeah.
Doja Cat has really mastered that, where she kind of just lets people into her life a little bit, and people like it. So
It's the good and the bad, I think. because now people feel like they know you, and so
Hmm.
they feel like they can cross that barrier. I guess that's always
Yeah.
my concern.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I think every person that's in kind of a public career or in the
Yeah,
spotlight in some way, they have to have really clear personal boundaries, and safety is important. So
yeah.
you have to make sure that, you're allowing people into your life, but you're also kind of protecting your space as the best you can.
I talked to actually Wee Man Jason Acuna.
Hmm.
He was a pro skateboarder before Jackass and all that, like
Oh,
a legit pro
I didn't know
skateboarder.
that.
And so he would go skating. And so when Jackass came out, he just told me this last week. He said he used to say, "Hey, I'm going to go skating with my buddy, at XYZ place this weekend." Da, da, da. And all of a sudden, like he'd show up and like there'd be hundreds of people there.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he's like,
Yeah.
so he had to start not talking about where he was going to go skating, but he would post like a day or two later.
Yep. Yep.
He couldn't do lives because people would show up.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, I did my first live probably a few months ago at this point with my producer, where we kind of did just a back and forth talk about kind of our creative process.
Yeah.
And in the live, he he mentioned our exact location. He was like, "We're at this studio here, da da da." And after it ended, I was like, "Hey, Brett,
You can't do that.
for the future, we can't do that." Like, especially as a woman, I really
Yeah.
have to think about those things. And being in a big city like LA, you have to think about those things. So it's definitely smart to post things after. I tend to do that when I post on my story, or if I
Yeah.
post a video. It's usually after I've left, so
Yeah.
that there's not, I mean, I'm not having any stalkers at this point, thank
No,
goodness.
but yeah, I had Meryl Davis on, who's Olympic gold medalist, won Dancing with the Stars, and she
Mhm.
started giving me her phone number, and I'm like, no, 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 because we
Oh
just got casual
yeah.
talking, and I'm like, no, 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 and I could always delete it because it's recorded, but I'm like, you definitely don't
Right.
want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just interesting.
you
That's the time that we live in.
you're right, right. It's a fine balance for artists to figure out, how to let their fans in, how to connect, but also how to protect your life and how to
Yeah.
remain private. And frankly, I think, a lot of social media is kind of a highlight reel, and just sharing what you want. And even if it's a little bit unfiltered or raw, you decide to hit post. And
Correct.
so there's always so much going on behind the scenes that, people might feel like they know you, but maybe they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right at that start. So that's why I'm asking these questions, because I think it'll be interesting in a year, 2, 3, or 5 years
Yeah.
after you've done 1,000 interviews. It'll be
A different story.
a
I
different tell.
know. It's true. It's totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
that's good. Well, hey, I appreciate the time. What's the best way for my listeners to follow what you have coming up? How do you?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can follow me I'm on all major platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's at Kel Adore or at Kel Adore Music. And so that's where, I just like to connect with people. If you're coming from this podcast, shoot me a DM, tell me that you came from here, and I'd love to just chat with you and
Mention
see what's going
breath.
on. Mention the breath version of Happy Again.
I want to
And it,
hear it.
yeah, yeah. And maybe if you mention that, I'll like send you a voice memo of me and where I would have added the breath.
Here's what it was.
You'll have an
Might have.
insider look. Yeah.
That, that'll be funny. I am going to put that out there though. That
No, please
there have
do.
to be some comments on Happy Again. Where's the breath
Yes.
version?
Where's the breath? I'm gonna forever regret not putting it in.
Exactly. So, so I appreciate it. I'll make sure to put all your links on my website and on my pages and all that so people can follow you. May 13th
Yes.
is
Yep.
Happy Again. Now,
That's right.
is it a ballad or is it poppy? How do you describe your music?
I would say this song is very different from Fool for the Pain. So
Okay.
Fool for the Pain was maybe a little more like kind of dark gothic pop, which might sound surprising, if you know me. Just a little more heavy. And then this one, Happy Again, is a lot more mystical. We drew a lot of inspiration
Cool.
from just like tropical island vibes. It's a very upbeat, kind of sonically uplifting song, and then the lyrics
Happy again.
are a little bit sad,
Oh,
actually.
really?
So there's kind of a contrast there. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what I love about this song is you listen to it and you think like, oh, this is a bop, and then you take a listen and you're like,
Oh,
oh, this is not a happy song.
that'd be
But
cool.
it's good. I mean, it's really about learning to let go. And for me personally, I'm someone who has always struggled to let go of things and people and just things in life.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson to learn to let things go, and this song is kind of about that journey of learning to let go.
Perfect. Well, can't wait. The Breath Again version will be out soon too, and
Yes.
I can't wait to see your success. It'll be fun following you along the journey.
Yeah, I'm so excited. More to come. Thank you so much for having me. And,
Absolutely.
we'll have to catch up another time once
Well,
I release more.
we both live in the same county, so maybe we can get our significant others together
Yeah.
for a lunch or a dinner or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Once you get moved in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let me finish unpacking.
See, that's when you want to become friends with people is after they've moved in. That
You don't
way,
want people asking, hey, can you help me move?
hey,
Yeah.
you have a truck? Like, oh, yes, I
Yeah,
do.
we luckily hired movers this time. I convinced my husband because we've
Not
had
worth
too
it.
many moves where we've tried to rope in friends and then one person shows up and then I'm sitting there yelling because I can't lift the dang chair.
You're like, that's not my job.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have any muscles. Like, I cannot do this. Uh,
So
but yeah, we'll have to get together. Thanks again for
yeah,
having me. Appreciate. And then yeah, if you're listening to this, shoot me a DM and I'm happy to connect with you as well.
perfect. Thanks, Kel. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Okay.